You know what you need if Superman ever, got bit by a vampire? You need, a cross made of kryptonite. Breaking up voodoo! It's been forever since we've done anything on this channel, or for movie rants in general, and so we're going to do something that I've wanted to do for a long time. If you can see my shirt, today we are going to compare the 1978 Superman film to Man of Steel through the articles of main character, supporting characters, villain, message, and overall how they influence our current pop culture. First, we're going to look at main character. Two people who play the same character but play them entirely different. First, let's look at Christopher Reeve's Superman in the Richard Donner Superman. This Superman is a Superman of fun, of charisma, of light, and of happiness. One that saves cats from trees and always has a grin on his face no matter what's going on. Except when he doesn't. This Superman is a Superman that many people like to make fun of for being too campy, for having his underwear on the outside of his tights. But instead, they don't look at what makes Christopher Reeve's Superman really important. The fact that he's still human. That outside of all that smiling and trains being the
safest way to travel,
there is a Superman that still breaks down, who still gets angry, who gets jealous, who gets greedy. And that's important to remember. He saves Lois Lane in the end of the movie because he wants to. Not because the betterment of the world is at stake, but because his own selfish desires does, because it's what he wants. And something that Christopher Reeves so well portrays is that he can do the happy Superman. He can do the flying Margot Kidder through the night sky, but he can also do a Superman that gets angry, one that falls into traps, and that's important to remember. And on the other side of the equation, you have Henry Cavill playing a much more brooding Superman. A Superman that is still hopeful in some ways, but one that is much more questioning his role in the world. One that isn't sure whether or not the world even needs a Superman. He doesn't smile as much. He doesn't laugh. He doesn't really joke. But instead he stops and he thinks. He talks to Lois about whether what he's doing is good. If Superman is even legal per se. He gets handcuffed, knowing that full well he could kill everyone around him, but he lets people believe that they have power over him. And that's a really interesting departure from what we normally see as Superman. That's not to say that he doesn't still smile and have excitement. His first flight is one of the most beautiful moments in any superhero movie, because you see a character finally realizing how much power they have, and just the excitement and the adrenaline and the rush that comes with that. But the thing that makes this Superman more interesting is that sometimes he's not that good. He lets people die. He destroys a city. He snaps his enemy's neck. Not because he wants to, but because sometimes he needs to. Because this Superman is different. This Superman is darker. And that's something that a lot of people didn't like. Now, to my opinion personally, I think Henry Cavill navigated the character really well, giving him enough excitement to balance out the darker, more malicious look at this Superman. But there is one thing that the Cavill Superman does not have that Reeves has in abundance, and that's character depth with their second half. Now, you look at Reeves' Superman, and he's just Superman. He's Kal-El. There isn't really a Clark Kent. There is in name, but not really in character, not in personality. And one of the things that makes Superman important is that he pretends to be human. He has to take on this ultra personality. And that's what Reeves excels in. His Clark Kent is almost, and I would argue, more famous than his Superman. The one-size-too-big suit, the dorky glasses, the haircut, the hat, the way he bumbles around situations. When he and Lois get mugged, you know that he's Superman. But Lois doesn't. The crooks don't. And you for a while believe that he is Clark Kent. The greatest scene in Richard Donner's Superman is when Superman drops Lois off, says some romantic, confident things to her, and then flies off. The camera pans to Lois for a couple seconds, and then the doorbell rings. Clark Kent awkwardly shuffles in, holding his hands, and asking if Lois would like to get hamburgers, like a total dork. And this scene shows you how important the juxtaposition of Clark Kent and Superman is. But because Superman really is Clark Kent, and he's a dweeb, and you think he's a loser, that makes how confident Superman is even more real. And that's why I think Reeves is a better Superman and Clark Kent.